What's up, guys? Jake here with a quick message before we get on to our show. Please make sure that you like this video below, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, and also make sure that you sign up for notifications. With your guys' help, we can ensure that all of the guests get the right attention and audience that they deserve. I thank all of you guys for joining me along this very adventurous journey, and now let's get on to the show. What's up, ladies and gents? It is December 31st. We are almost into 2021. What a strange and wild year it has been for the world and myself personally. And this guest that I have on today is a returner to the show. He was on episode, hopefully I don't mess this up. 12, I keep forgetting.
Damn.
But I brought Sina on. It was actually his idea, so I have to give him credit. Both of our lives have drastically changed since we even spoke last time. He was doing something completely different. I was in the beginning stages of the podcast. We've become great friends since then. So if somebody tells you otherwise, that podcast makes great friends, it is completely true.
That's very true, actually.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I was actually texting also another podcaster that I met, and she was like, podcasts are just like best friend locators.
I agree. I feel like because we connect, I'm not trying to sound corny, but like you're one of the few people that can understand what I'm going through and vice versa. Like we talk to other people. Oh yeah, podcasting's cool. I'm thinking about it. You know, it's another side of the spectrum. Also, I do think, when you talk about this year, you know, first of all, let's make one thing clear to everybody. This was my idea, but this is a tradition now. This is our end of the year tradition now. On the guest list, maybe next year we double up, but on the guest list, we'll do it.
Can you imagine like how much our lives have changed just over the course of 8 months? Can you imagine another year from today going into 2022? It's going to be interesting. You know, we're going to have Biden is going to be president for a year.
First year with Biden.
Coronavirus.
Well, we don't know that yet.
The vaccine has been implemented for a year. Like, what is the vaccine rate a year from now?
Frontline workers.
Here, let's take a prediction. When we record next year, what is the percentage of people who have been vaccinated for the coronavirus?
In the U.S. or the world?
We'll go with the U.S.
Before I answer this question, do you believe it's going to be mandatory to take it or a choice? Because this depends on my answer.
It's also mine as well. I think they're going to end up making it mandatory to do certain things. Like they've already said that it's okay for the airlines and businesses to employ or keep their employees employed if they take the vaccine. So they have rights to fire you if you aren't vaccinated. And I know some airlines are going to start doing this where you have to be vaccinated to get on the plane. So they're going to make life tough to do regular day things and to find success without being vaccinated.
I'm going to say, because I don't know I'll say 45%.
Okay, I'm going to shoot a little higher. I'm going to say 70.
I think that's a better answer. Because I'm starting to think, well, do you think that it's going to go the route of, hey, only the certain people, like the elitists, not even the elitists, but upper middle class people can get the vaccine, and then the lower end people, poorer people, sub 45K a year, sub 40K a year people don't get it? Do you think that could be the case?
Yeah, well, you see some of the elites, politicians, they're kind of cutting the line already. I see a lot of outrage on social media because of this, because they're considered high risk, or they're just saying, hey, I have power and I want to get this vaccine done and over with before maybe we run out or before something happens.
Do you trust it? That's the question.
I trust it for the most part. I've seen some people post on my social media account that I follow that take the vaccine and say that there's some lagging effects the first 2 days of drowsiness and they feel lethargic and a headache.
That probably is a side effect.
That's a general side effect of taking vaccines because your body's adjusting to, I don't know what's in a vaccine, antibodies. I don't know.
So what they do for a vaccine is they take the nucleotides of the DNA base of the original virus, and they create a fake virus, and they inject that virus with chemicals around it into the body, And that forces the body's immune system, which you know how it adapts to every virus, to adapt to the virus. There's two forms of vaccines. The one where they give you the original virus, or one where they give you this synthetic virus that they create. This vaccine, the one developed by Moderna, the one developed by this other...
Pfizer.
Yes, that's exactly the one. This is a synthetic vaccine, I believe. So yeah, I agree. I do trust it. By the way, like do you see a reason not to trust it? Do you think those conspiracy theorists are going a little bit too far with that?
No, I find it so outlandish that people hate on Bill Gates. I mean, he is a little bit out of his expertise by trying to be basically the largest advocator to take the vaccine. I don't think he's trying to take over the world. I don't think there's some sort of tracking mechanism attached inside of this vaccine.
I don't care if there is, to be honest.
I don't think there's, like, it seems like politics is a real life version of the House of Cards TV show that was on Netflix, but I don't think it's that organized as people like to think that it is, or dramatic. I think it's more so people out there just winging it and kind of adjusting to the different scenarios that are at hand.
The consequences of their actions.
Mm-hmm. And those are the people that capitalize the best, are the ones who are able to adapt to whatever crisis may happen. And that's what you see happening with more, I guess, in the forefront is like the stock market and how it's manipulated and how they can see what's happening and they know when to short and buy and inside information and things like that.
Do you think, stock market is being manipulated?
It's been manipulated.
Yeah. You know, I love learning these things from you. Every time I talk to you.
It's heavily manipulated. I mean, right now, the only reason it's going up is because they just keep printing money at will. And this is why I'm such a Bitcoin advocate, is because I think...
Well, you're definitely right now. Like, now you'd be stupid to argue Bitcoin. If you're still doubting Bitcoin, like, you are just... I don't want to describe you. Like, I don't know how you still doubt Bitcoin. Adapt, people. You know?
Bitcoin is going to have an insane 2021 year if we're talking about looking forward to what the next year is going to bring.
What's your prediction it ends at?
I'm going to be completely inaccurate.
35K. 35.
No, way higher. I would say over 50 for sure. Maybe 100, maybe even higher because of the amount.
You think you'll go over 100?
Because of the institutions that are buying. But the reason why I'm such an advocate and people are starting to realize it is that the USD fiat system is probably one of the largest systemically racist infrastructures that we have in our society today. So what you see happen is right now the Congress just passed another $900 billion stimulus check or package. So now they're getting into the $5 to $10 trillion overall. The more money that they print, assets become inflated. Who owns the assets is the top 50% or even higher, the top 20% of the United States.
Top 20.
And so
10.
their assets rise, they get richer, and then whose money degrades is all the money loses its purchasing power. And who are the people that are living paycheck to paycheck and have their savers or have their money saved in a bank account is usually the bottom 50%. And so they become more poor because they lose their purchasing power, and the rich get richer. And that's what severs the middle class. And that's why it's systemically racist, because people are aware of this. And this is why I like Bitcoin, because it's basically it's a way to protest the system and opt out, because there is nobody who controls this.
Is it racist, or is it targeting lower income people? Or is it targeting a specific race of people? I know that generally minorities are lower income people, and I get what you're saying by systemically racist, but a lot of systemically racist institutions have racist intentions behind them. Are you saying that the USD fiat system has racist intentions behind them, or it just targets, supposes to target?
Yeah, so the racist was a little bit more of a blanket statement. It targets, the lower socioeconomic class, but it's utilized by the upper class, and more specifically the politicians and corporations who know how to play it to their benefit. So that's where you see the corporate socialism that we saw with the first round of this stimulus package, where the corporations got $500 billion to be bailed out. And they basically were issuing stock buybacks the entire year. So they've been aware since the last package during Obama's presidency, when they printed, I think it was $800 billion, might be wrong. they're aware that this is going to happen again and they'll be bailed out. So they just keep issuing stock buybacks over the 2010s. And
a lot of companies, did you see that? I know you saw that tweet, are starting to toy with the idea of transferring a large portion of their revenue from USD to Bitcoin.
To Bitcoin, yeah.
That's hilarious. That's awful for, well, it's not awful, but it's great, but it's...
Michael Saylor, he's bought $1.3 billion worth of Bitcoin for his treasury asset reserves. He classified the USD. He said having the dollar in his bank account is like watching a melting ice cube. It just deteriorates over time and it loses purchasing power. So why not transfer your wealth over to something that increases over time?
When do you think will be too late to get into Bitcoin?
It's never too late.
I know, like for example, 2021 is going to be a big year. I get that. Maybe 22, but do you think 2023, 2024 will be too late to invest in Bitcoin?
No, it's never too late because you can't look at it as the dollar pair, BTC against the dollar, because eventually the dollar is going to falter and it won't be the world reserve currency anymore. And so if Bitcoin becomes that, it'll probably either be Bitcoin or go back to the gold standard.
Yeah.
Then you don't measure things in dollars because you could see places like Venezuela where it's like $100 trillion for a piece of bread, off by a little bit, but their hyperinflation is 99.9%. So if Bitcoin is by the end of the decade worth $10 million, then that's just a sign that the dollar system has failed and it's not recognized as something that's worth money.
Do you think that... I think that you said something smart. I think it goes back to gold or Bitcoin, but I also think it has to be digital.
Yeah, that's the new age that we're going into. That's why I resonated with it the most and why I've been in it since 2017. I'm more passionate about Bitcoin than podcasting and anything I've ever
You
been
really
in.
are. I can honestly, if you guys ever, anybody out there watching, if you guys ever want any Bitcoin advice, you don't really have to follow any Bitcoin news sites and you could just follow his account and he'll retweet everything. No, but, I think 2020 was a breakout in a way, a validation year for Bitcoin, just because a lot of skeptics never thought it would surpass its all-time high, and would look at that as a 23K right now. You know, is it still at 23K?
Yeah, it's 23K. This is what Bitcoin.
I made money this year.
Is what Bitcoin was built for. So Satoshi Nakamoto, the pseudo-anonymous creator, could be he, she, they. Nobody really knows. When he created, it. Sorry for all the pronoun people out there.
It could be an alien.
Yeah, it could be. Some people think it's the FBI. Some people think it's Elon Musk secretly. Who really knows?
Definitely not.
Neither.
Do you think it's Elon Musk?
No.
Yeah, especially after his tweets.
He ingrained a message in the first. It's called the Genesis block, and it was quoting the British Chancellor. I think it's January 3rd, 2009, and it says it was from the UK newspaper, and it says Chancellor on the brink of a second bailout, and that's why Bitcoin is created, because they knew that this same situation was going to keep happening. And fast forward to 2020, the same things happened all over again. We just saw the stimulus package passed, or this most recent one of $900 billion. $180 billion went out to the people for a $600 stimulus check, and another $3,000 in unemployment extension over 10 weeks. And the other, we'll say $500 billion went to special interest groups like Pakistani gender resources. There's literally something in there.
So you think that that could be a blanket statement, or like something to cover something else up, maybe?
Yeah. So basically, lobbyists and special interest groups wrote this recent stimulus package bill. There's all kinds of things in there. $1 billion went to Smithsonian Institute, another $1.3 billion to Israel, $80 billion to Sudan and all these other countries. Meanwhile, they left the consumers and citizens of the United States left hanging. And so this is why the dollar system is going to continually fail over time. And it's interesting to see the policies that are beginning to surround it and some of the lashing back of governments.
We'll see where it goes with Biden. I'm actually very curious. You think that this is its position to take off these next 4 years, right?
Yeah.
Because Trump would have made it worse, no?
So Mnuchin has definitely some hate towards Bitcoin. He tried to pass this most recent.
Who's Mnuchin?
Steve Mnuchin's a Treasury Secretary, is one of Trump's appointees.
Oh, I thought it was you. Biden.
He hates Bitcoin, and so he's trying to. It's called a midnight ruling. So he gave the Bitcoin community 15 days where any transaction over $3,000 from an exchange to a private wallet, it has to be flagged and your information is sent to the government. So they're trying to track your your digital trails, your digital paper trails with your Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So it's a huge infringement on privacy, and he's trying to pass this on his way out the door. Personally, I think Trump is a holder of Bitcoin.
He for sure is.
The Trump Family Foundation was a holder of Bitcoin a few years ago. It's been kind of wiped off the internet, but this was a few years ago.
I don't think he could publicly say I own Bitcoin. Like he's
obviously watch once he leaves, then he can do whatever he wants. But the fear is with Biden and a more democratic government system, they're trying to issue more government programming and ruling, and
what they want to do is create a digital dollar. They want to combat Bitcoin with the dollar and make it digital.
Yeah, so which is I think is bullish for Bitcoin, because then people are going to be able to realize like you could swap back and forth between Bitcoin and dollars will be used for a payment system, and then you store your wealth in Bitcoin.
I can agree. That's a good point. But I would also say too that it'll also make some Bitcoin it would definitely preserve the value of the dollar for longer, and some Bitcoin consumers would keep their foot in the pool of the USD fiat.
Yeah, of course. Once you have a digital dollar too, then basically the anonymity of dollar transactions is going to disappear. And so then they could literally track every single transaction that you have forever.
That's the dangerous part about Bitcoin, is when you do these large scale global transactions between countries, there's not going to be a trace, right?
With Bitcoin, you can track it. Basically, with Bitcoin, there's a 26 character address that's attached to your wallet, but you don't know who owns the address. So you can follow where the money is, but you don't know who's possessing it. And there's things like coin joins and swaps where you can basically pool your transaction with hundreds or thousands of other transactions, which makes it hard to trace.
So did you really like go ham on Bitcoin this year?
I've been literally investing in it since 2017.
I know you've been since 2017, but
this year I didn't buy anything. I bought one transaction. I did one transaction for when it was at $6,000.
You have a ridiculously large amount of Bitcoin you saved up over the last couple of years. That's smart though. That's about a gamble.
I told you
gamble.
When I was introduced to it in 2017, I was introduced into an altcoin project first, and then I had to do some research on Bitcoin. And after about a week of doing research, this is the most certain I've ever felt about anything in my life. I was like, no shit, this is the future. Like hands down, this is going to be it. Like I never had one doubt in my mind, and I've been tried to shill it to all of my coworkers and all of my friends. You back it up.
You invested all your money into it.
Yeah, 99%.
That's crazy.
I've been 99% for probably 2 years.
That's crazy, but I'll say this: it's gonna pay off. All you gotta do is hold steady. I'm sure you made a shit ton of money this year. From 20, it went from come on, bro. It went from 9K to 4K in March. No,
it crashed down at 3,800. Yeah. I didn't buy down there. I bought a little bit down for 6, but
that's crazy.
My bags have been packed for over a year, so I've been kind of just waiting for the moment, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think Bitcoin's gonna have a good 2021.
Did Bitcoin and I want to just ask, because you said Bitcoin, you're more passionate about Bitcoining than podcasting, but was Bitcoin one of the reasons you started this podcast?
Yeah. Bitcoin opened my eyes to so many different facets of life I wasn't aware. So when you go down they call it the rabbit hole, the Bitcoin rabbit hole.
I went down that rabbit hole recently.
We all do. You go down there, I still haven't left. But once you start understanding why Bitcoin is important, then you start realizing what the faulty systems are with the dollar. And then when you start learning about the dollar, you start learning about how politics influences it. And then once you start learning about politics, then you start watching and reading about pundits and people who commentate on politics, and then you start learning about economic system, socialism versus capitalism versus communism, and then it's a giant trickle effect. And so you start to understand the more complexities of the world and a lot of the social structures that have been set in place, and how a lot of them are really faulty and shouldn't exist to begin with, and how what the value of something is. I said this when I was on your podcast, of like, Bitcoin really taught me what value is. Like, why do we give the dollar value? It's valuable because the government says it's worth $1. And the reason why it's the world reserve currency is because America has the strongest military, and basically will say like, come fuck with us if you have some other thought otherwise. So why do people give Bitcoin value? Because people believe it's a belief system. Value is a belief system. It's like kind of like when I was running my antique store. Why did somebody want to pay $300 for this old school typewriter? And why did somebody only want to pay $10 for these unique salt and pepper shakers? It's given by whoever the person is, and it's a belief system.
So they adjusted to your belief of the value, right? Because if they purchase the item.
If they purchase the item, yeah, but they come in usually with a preconceived notion of what the value is to them. And, you know, you haggle with them, or you just like, this is fair. So you start to see these different systems in place throughout society. It's not just finance either. It's just human thinking and psychology and interaction.
That's what I'm starting to think is like when you say value, it's like you can really apply that to any. I'm starting to think about that in any situation. Whereas when I want something out of someone, we are both aiming for the same thing. We both have a certain value on it. It's about who's able to leverage that value or your perceived value. I'm just starting to think maybe it's like that's the foundation of each interaction really in life is, and I think how good you are at determining the right value of something and leveraging that to your advantage determines how far you go in life.
Exactly. Like let's use your story as an example, right?
Store or story?
Story.
Oh, okay.
So when I first had you on the podcast back in
I could
May,
tell. I was looking at your eyes. I knew you were going to segue. Go ahead.
Yeah. I have to bring them back to it. So when I had you on episode 12 back in May, you were working for Xtra Gaming and you had a T2M podcast, but of a different sort, and it was about sports. And through this,
it was an extra podcast.
Extra podcast, yeah. And then you pivoted, and now you do a marketing and digital agency, and you have some other things in work because you thought and you'd realized, and this is a conversation.
I would say
evolved, and you realized that there were things that were more valuable than spending your time on these other projects. Yeah, and so your value system has changed. It's evolved.
Yes, that's what I was, that's actually a good segue because that's why I said what I just said earlier is what you just said was what I learned this year. That's what I'm realizing through all these experiences you just named. Yeah, I evolved. I knew, listen, I started podcasting a year and a half ago and I knew that this is one of the routes of my life, locked in stone. I feel like, you know, it's kind of like, I feel like it's a necessity. So podcasting was there. And then this year, you know, as I graduated college, I realized, I don't want to do sports, you know, I want money. And now I'm really all about, you know, my value, what others perceive my value to be, and my money. Those are the two things that are most important to me. And, not that I care about other people's opinion, I care about their perceived value. I know it sounds synonymous, but what I mean by that is their perceived value of me elevates my brand. Their personal opinion of me, I don't think about. I just think I take the emotions out of it. So I evolved into a marketing agency, which I still wanted to be on my side hustle. Like I want something I could dig my teeth in, like a main direct cash flow to fund my e-commerce businesses. Because marketing and e-commerce, I realize, is my ticket to financial freedom, along with this podcast. I need to mix these together. And so I have a lot of big plans for next year, but I will say that I've positioned myself in a very good position, I think. I just want to do something no one's doing, you know, and kind of like you, like no one's doing the guest list, you know, like I don't want to be, this is not a shot, but I would not want to be a real estate agent, or I would not want to work at a club anymore. And we both worked at clubs. I don't want to work at, I don't want to do certain sales jobs. I don't want to even be a doctor, or a lawyer. Like I want to set my own path. Like my name is Sina. I want a unique path regarding that. And I'm confident I'm doing that. And now, but hey, you know as well as I do, Jake, this journey is very, very hard. You know, like have you had, like I'm sure I'll get into my shit in a sec, but you just described my journey from episode 12 to now, from covering sports to where I am now, having a marketing self-help business entrepreneurial podcast, marketing agency. Like it's definitely gone through so many highs and lows to even get here where I don't even know where I am yet. So you could relate to that.
Yeah, you have to be able to reevaluate and self-critique yourself, but also not send yourself into a cascading whirlwind of self-doubt along the same time. It's really tough. Some days you'll wake up and you feel like you're about to take over the world, and then literally 3 hours later you're like, why am I freaking doing this? Like, it makes no sense.
Do you feel like that?
Yeah, sometimes. All the time.
So it's like, I actually wanted to ask you this because you seem like very well put together, but like, and now if you don't mind being vulnerable, like, I'll say this, for all you guys thinking about starting a podcast, is I think you should, but just know, I don't want you guys to start a podcast if you're going to half-ass it. You know what I mean? Like, you got to stick with it. But
you have to.
But when people say stick with it, oh yeah, I'll just keep recording. They don't understand what we just talked about. Like, I'm going to ask you this. Do you ever wake up some days and like your confidence is down? Maybe it's because of an external event, something that happened, but some days when you wake up, you said you're on top of the world. How do you deal with those? Do you actually feel like that some days where you wake up and you're like, damn, I don't know, like self-doubt or?
Yeah. I don't think a lot of those self-deprecating thoughts revolve around the podcast success, because I knew what I needed to do to get there through my previous business adventures and different things that I've done. I've seen it happen multiple times.
Not podcast success. I'm talking about your overall confidence.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So some days, even small things, the downloads didn't reach what they were the day before. Like, there's small things like that. Maybe, I don't know, my gym session wasn't good, or maybe I'm just tired. Like, that's something that people don't realize. Like, you have to take these rest days, and it weighs down on you, because you have to be robotic at times, where you have to be like, okay, I have to record this podcast, and then I have to edit it, and then I have to post it, and I have to do this and this and this and this.
Cut the clips and put it on each social media platform. Then post a story on each social media platform.
Yeah, or maybe like you emailed somebody that you want to come on the podcast and they didn't respond, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? Like, there's so many different things that can go wrong, which send you down into the dumps. You have to be aware of when you're feeling that way, and you have to know of different avenues to pull yourself out of it. Maybe something as simple as going to visit your parents. Maybe it's something as calling your best friend and FaceTiming with them. Maybe you need to go out to lunch or just get out of your apartment. Like, I
think you're right. Those do help. Those activities you named, they definitely help.
It's like a reset, Sometimes you just have to be aware of when you're feeling that, or if you're burnt out. There's times where I have to literally force myself to lay in bed and watch. I don't have Netflix anymore, but we'll watch different things on YouTube. I feel like I cannot do anything regarding the podcast today. Like, for my own mental well-being, I need to reset and feel rejuvenated for the next few days. Like, that's what I did yesterday. I literally didn't do anything, or it might have been 2 days ago.
2 days.
It was 2 days ago. Yeah. Tweet. Yeah. Tweet.
I was trying to lay in bed or something.
I'm trying to do absolutely nothing. So you have to be aware, and this isn't just pertinent to podcasting, but it's anything in life. But for the more favorable times that this happens, it's in entrepreneurship, because you're down this road by yourself.
So yeah, I agree. I think it's about being, the number one thing is you got to understand, if you're on this podcast goal, like, you cannot not record a week. You can't do that. And I think some days, some weeks, it gets really hard. Like, I personally, just like you, have never really questioned the success of the podcast. I never really doubted that, because to me, if you do something and stick with it, you're going to succeed. I don't know. It's just ingrained in me. But some days I wake up and, like, as I said, like, that's why I had a conversation with someone and they said to focus more on the podcast, because I think I'm attacking so many things, which is great, because I don't spread myself too thin. I take pride in that. But I also, it leaves me vulnerable, because when something doesn't go right here, it's not that people say, you spread yourself too thin. No, I hate when people say that. I need to be spread out thin to be the most effective. I can't just focus, But when something goes wrong, for example, business-wise, which has happened before, like my clients, they get mad or an ad doesn't go right. That happens at the beginning all the time. It fucks with my mood here. And that's why I'm trying to juggle this. It's like, I really need to I think my only answer is to really just like go through the downs and the dumps. But I asked you that question because I'm starting for me to achieve my goals, I have to get myself out of that. I have to go through that. But it's hard when you're feeling down, like from something in this lane. It's hard to go on camera and be, because this game we're doing right now, it's about the energy, the enthusiasm. This is a very quality conversation. It's going to be a good episode. But if we were both feeling down, like, it'd be hard to.
There's a lot of energy that needs to be on the same page. I think you need to balance all these things, especially when you're spreading yourself too thin, because I've also done this many times and I've vouched not to do it again because of how it is.
That's your thing, yeah.
You need to be a pro at compartmentalizing different aspects of your life, and you need to know that the different associations aren't correlated to each other. Like, for example, I'm just going to make up a fake scenario. Your girlfriend's mad at you, and so she's not coming over today. You can't let that situation of your relationship affect the podcast or your investing scenario or anything like that. And you have to know that these are all different boxes of your life, and that just because box 1 is having a bad day, it shouldn't let box 2, 3, 4, and 5 have a bad day.
And that's big to me. I think that's really key. That's why I want to focus going to 2021. Let me ask you this, like, how are you viewing these next 2 weeks? Like, what's your, like, I'm a big, like, spiritual guy, I guess. So I'm really, like, banking on a big 2021. So I'm trying to really prepare for 2021 these next 2 weeks, whether it be, just really preparing mentally.
So how am I decompressing so we're recording today, it's like the 21st, but we're releasing this on the 31st. But over the next 10 days.
Are we really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
It's just the 31st happened to line up on a Thursday on the release schedule. It was perfect. I took less podcasts. I only have one this week. I have one next week.
Smart.
Took less. Have a giant list of things that I want to knock out that are low level activities, small things like, putting in a new intro song and creating a YouTube trailer. And
that's what we want to do too. But those aren't low. Those are kind of high energy things.
There are things that take creativity. I've also lined up different, like, people that I want to reach out to next year, and kind of just like more game planning and organizing. But I'm very excited for what 2021 has to bring for myself personally. I think the world is going to improve too. Depending on once the vaccine roll out, maybe summer, we can see some sort of normalcy to what we were traditionally used to seeing. But I think you just have to fine tune yourself to have a positive mindset. You can't be pessimistic going into the year. It will carry over completely. So you just find things that are the most important to you, maybe your 5 closest friends, see how you can build those relationships with them, how you can improve yourself, but you have to remain positive.
I agree with that. As I said, everything's the perception of your own reality. I think I had I don't know how to describe it. Honestly, it was the best year of my life financially, which I'm actually surprised by. I didn't even look at the numbers, but it was by far made more money than I ever have in my life. I started up so many different things. I've created in my opinion, I have a really good skill set that's hard to find.
It's unique, and that's good. That's really good.
Like, I could help a business out, in my opinion, in many ways, and that's how I view it. And so I built this. I think this was the best year of my life. So, I met great people. Going into 2021, my game plan for the next 3 weeks is just like you. Is what makes me have a good torrid stretch of dominance, like compared to sports where I go off. Like, this year is going into this year, I took like 1 to 2 months and I was really focusing on this year. What am I going to do? And I game planned. And that's what I'm going to really do. I'm going to set some flagpoles. And that's what, I do believe, as I said, my goal is to make a lot of money in 2021, but more so just set myself up for the future completely. Get my credit score to where I want to. You implement that into my e-commerce business, combine them. That's my main goal for 2021. Get a good, respectable big boy job. So this was definitely the best year of my life. And my main goal, as I said, to 2021 is to really, really focus on talk too much. As you said, that's always going to be my main thing. Car Doggy, all my e-commerce stores, they fall under that. And I want to really create art with my podcast too. Like, I'm taking a completely different turn by. You'll see what I'm going to do.
I'm excited. That's something that differentiates success, is knowing when you need to pivot whatever you're working on.
It's really like, I did my split test of this podcasting thing. I think I have an idea of how I want to take my show. It's going to take some time to get there, but I just want to, as I said, settle in a little bit more and find a direct flagpole. Because like you said, I've been evolving and pivoting, and I don't think that's wrong, because I personally don't have the passion to do what I was doing with my show 2-3 months ago, because that's useless. And I think my skill set's evolved, and I see more money and more air, in this area. So I agree. I think 2021 has to be a big year. One thing I'm going to do in 2021, and I know I've told you this many times, and I know you don't do this, I'm going to cut back big time on weed. I said it on camera. I'm a smoker from time to time. I enjoy my weed, marijuana. I smoke alone, by the way. I do not smoke with other people. You know that. Like, I'll never ever smoke with someone else. Like, I smoke to enjoy my art. I'm really trying to be one with myself, which I feel like I am, but I need to really, really find mental stability and cut out every emotion. Like, be really, really chill. Like, be really stoic. And so to do that, I'm really taking a 360. I'm cleansing my mind, is how I call it. And yeah, because that's the only way for me for 2021. I'm not half-assing this. Like, this is going to be a big year. And just like you, like, I'm really going to game plan, focus in on it, and meditate, like, take each day, each second, like, take it seriously. That's my goal for 2021. Because 2020, I did the same thing. I found success in it. So
yeah, there's something I say on the podcast all the time where I always say, like, 2020 is the best rebranding opportunity we're going to get. But if that's 2020, 2021 is now representing that brand that you've built. You need to be able to take what it is.
2021 might be the best rebranding year. It might be the sequel to the 2020. Because think about it, it's a new world. Like, many brands are going to come out. We're very new. Like, just so you know, Jake, there's going to be a lot of competitive podcasts next year coming out.
Yeah,
like,
but we have a head start.
We have a head start.
That's when I started the podcast. I've said this multiple times that I had this do or die moment. And that was one of the realizations, was in this new accelerated world that we're moving into because of COVID, there's going to be a lot of competition. First, I love competition. I think we're competitors. Yeah. I think it just encourages me to do better and to be innovative and hardworking.
Facts.
But I knew that I had to shoot at myself out of this theoretical cannon and make sure that nobody could catch me. And that even people looking at it and be like, I want to take out Jake, like, they have to realize that they have a large mountain to overcome, and I welcome them to do that.
I'll take you out.
Yeah, I hope so.
I will next year.
We're doing this together. I really hope you do surpass me.
I will. Next year. That's one of my goals. I said this. I
enjoy friendly competition.
It's going to happen. Like, I put this on my whiteboard, is to surpass your show. And not in the sense of numbers, just in my perceived version of quality.
That's good.
That's why I'm taking it seriously. That's a compliment to you, though. And there's going to be a lot of new coming podcasts trying to take our clout.
I encourage it. I tell everyone that the podcasting game is not a zero sum game. There doesn't have to be just one person, and there's still 50%.
That's why our competition's healthy, because we both know we can both eat. But it's just fun to push each other.
Yeah, of course. There's 50% of the entire country doesn't even listen to podcasts, but once they do, they listen to 1 to 6 shows when they first start. So if we can flip that 0 to 1, then that 1 is actually 6 or more. So if we encourage our friends to listen to podcasts because we go on each other's show or get other people on the show or, do guest swaps or whatever, that one person is probably going to listen to both of our shows because they're familiar with us. But so we both win.
I'll also say this, though, like, we're going to see who's able to keep it up like us.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I'm scaling it to 2 shows a week next year. As I said, I need to get my schedule set before I do that. But that is 100% my plan, because I kind of eliminated a lot of I believe the route I'm taking, I kind of took a lot of pressure off of the guest route. I'll still have guests, but I don't think I'll need to as much. And if I do 2 shows a week,
because now you're representing the brand in 2021.
Yeah, as I said, like, for me, for my show, I want John and I to find a good sparring partner. Let's just say that, and that was my main thing. And I really think that you're very good about guests, because I think I should schedule ahead, but like 3 weeks ahead in case
I do 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. And for me, it's hard because it's a lot of times they bail and a lot of shit like, and I also, it's undisciplined, lack of discipline on my part. I'm not gonna make excuses. So but for me, it's also annoying to get guests, and because I feel like I don't really compare myself to you because I do, but not in our games, because I don't like interviewing people. And I was telling this to John the other day, like I do like interviewing people, but the way we've gone about our show, I'm not happy with it. And I've kind of lost sense of the flagpole because we're kind of just having guests on to interview them. And we don't really get to brand ourselves and when our strengths are our personality. That's why we got together. We're just getting guests on to leverage their audiences and their people, their friends, just like you said. And that shouldn't be the point. You know, that should be a benefit. But if we're making that the main point, we're doing it wrong. And so I realized that, and that's why I'm saying I'm really focusing on my craft. I feel like my marketing, we've created a schedule. I'm going to take it to another level. And there's just a lot of things I want to clean up. But my number one thing is I wanted to really focus on what I'm good at, and that's my personality. I want, like Tim Dillon.
So here, let me ask you this then. Doing a podcast, obviously you like the results that are happening, but why do you host a podcast? Why are you internally doing this? And I'll give you my example. I do the podcast because I genuinely like talking with people and understanding how they work. The nature of my conversations throughout my entire life have always lasted longer than 15 minutes, even a first time meeting somebody. And so my genuine curiosity for somebody's story and their interest is the reason why I do it, and that I get to learn something new. And then other people are basically on the journey with me and they get to learn. So it's like, if you have to look internally and ask yourself, why do you host a podcast? Why do you do it?
Because I like, there's so many things going on, and I feel like no one really, I believe this is egotistical. I see another layer of life a lot of people don't see. I really do feel like I'm that self-aware, and I want to use this crazy, unique personality I have, this aggressive one, into podcasting and express my opinions on the world and really bring value to people. Like I want to genuinely help people. And so that's where I think we're different types of podcasts. I think we both have very pure whys, but they're so different. They're legit the opposite whys on the podcasting spectrum. It's yours is like you want this. This is your why right now. This is a fantastic conversation. Whereas I don't mind this, but it doesn't always go like this. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times it's just like, it's not this good of a conversation, and I get bored of certain guests, and that's fucked up, but it's just like the truth. Like I'm very erratic like that. So I want to change the show up to my strengths. And that was my goal is to change it, because I want to align it to my why. Just like you said, I want to really bring value to people and help people, like use my unique personality to garner attention and really help people out. And there's a lot of people I get very frustrated with in my life because they don't know what they're doing with their life. And it's like, why am I this frustrated about you? You should be this frustrated. And you know, I want to get people on this mindset. I want to get people to have the same mindset as me. You have
a little bit of a killer mentality. Like
it's not evolved yet. It's in its raw version. I'm young still, you know.
That's one of the reasons why I think we've become friends, is that I saw, when we'd first met, I saw a lot of myself in you, and it's something that I haven't seen in many people, where you just have this go-getter mentality that you're not going to quit and you'll pivot and change whatever you're doing as many times as you need to possible to get there.
Yeah, not anybody. But I'm saying, like, I'm a servant to the brand, and people need to understand, everybody on my team I work with has to be the same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's important. When I talk to a lot of people, they always say like they admire my tenacity and like just willing to keep going. And
you're a professional. That's how I view you.
Appreciate that. And going through all of these different trials and tribulations. And if you realize that something's not working, then change it immediately. That's what happened with Chameleon. It's what happened with the antique store. It's what happened with Forex. They just weren't working, and I had to change it. And that's something that I see in your mindset.
Yes, but I will say this though. Like, I also learned from your stories. I wouldn't say I didn't stop doing. I still run my clients. Like, I don't say pivot, because I'm still doing everything I did, but I kind of toned it down and I prioritized something bigger, because something new. I learned new information. Okay. So it's like, I'm not going to ever stop marketing. In fact, my marketing agency will probably be my main source of income one day, because I want to post the results of my e-commerce journey and get people to buy into my marketing. So I I agree though, in the sense of I am willing to adapt, but I'm not willing to, I don't quit. Like I've never quit anything in my life, relationships, friendships, whatever. I don't quit. Like for the stuff I'm doing right now, except for jobs, I'll quit if I work for someone, but the stuff I'm doing now, I'm not going to quit. I'm not going to stop. There's no point, you know, I got my LLC, you know, people think like, I will still pay my dues. I'll still pay my website fees. You know, this is a side hustle for me.
So
you know,
what is fueling your fire? You have so much energy and you have this clear line of thinking of where you need to get. What is fueling this fire?
I want to create the greatest anime of all time. I want to go down as one of the greatest artists ever, conversationalists ever. I feel like I have that ability. I just need to add discipline to my conversation. That's what I don't have. I'm way too wild. Even in this conversation, some of my senses, like my brain is so erratic. I go on, and then I realize it later on, like, shut up. You got to shut up now. So I want to add discipline to my conversation. I want to really go down in history. Like I'm a competitor just like you. So I want to make my name for myself and my family. I see the world for what it is, this short life we live. You know, I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to settle and live this normal life and kill myself. Like that's a life full of nothing. You know, just 99.99999% of people I've met in my life. So I'm talking like less than 10 people I've met. Like, and my parents aren't in this. It's me, you, and a couple of people I've worked with. See the world for what it is. And my parents are settlers. My sister's a settler for now. Like they settle. It's not really settling because they're going to school, but they think that's the top of the mountain. And there's just so much more to life that I've been exposed to this year. That's why my why is like I'm scared of life. I know I'm going to die soon. I just want to not settle. Like
they're running through the machine that is society.
Yeah,
this
exactly.
machine that's been built. They're on the conveyor belt.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
content with that.
And it pisses me off because you say that to them, they'll laugh at you like you're an idiot. Like, yeah, dude, go to school, bro. And it's just like, it is what it is. I feel it. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but my why is I just want to make the most out of my life. And I also want to separate myself from my fucking peers that I just feel like I'm more valuable than. You know, that's my why is make a name for yourself. I think that should be everybody's why. What about yours? I feel like it's similar.
I was about to ask you this question, but I'll kind of touch on it first. I was going to ask what's more important to you, legacy or monetary gain? For me, it would be legacy. Why I'm doing the podcast is because I've been attempting to build my network over my entire life. And as being an only child and having parents that were much older than me, I've kind of been on my own and I've kind of shuffled through. I don't think shuffling's the right word, but I've kind of shuffled through these different friend groups my entire life and I've kept some of them, but I've noticed that a trend is that I've continued to progress out of my friend circles over and over and over and over.
You've also had faults at that though.
Oh yeah, of course. I've had many faults.
We are very similar. We're different personalities, but we're similar mind psyches. I could honestly go ahead and judge you that you're probably you could be very hard to be with. Like if you're in a bad mood, it would suck to be stuck with. I'm very similar, so that's why I feel comfortable saying
I can be stubborn in my ways.
Stubborn. You could be stubborn. You could be lethal sometimes. You could attack people sometimes. And I think that, you know, it takes a special type of person to be around your type of strength. I look at it as strength, but it is hard to be around sometimes because if you're in a bad mood, you have no hesitance. You'll attack someone. You know what I mean?
I'm definitely aggressive, but it's not. It's not your typical aggressive
Facts.
though. It's
subtly aggressive.
Yeah, it's subtle. It's a little bit more constructive in a different like mental capacity.
Yeah, you'll be like, hey, Sina, you're ugly.
That was like the text I sent you on your way here. This guy, we were supposed to interview at 11. He texts me at, I think it was like 8:30 and he's like, can we do this earlier? And I was like, what time? And he's like 10. At 10, he texts me and says 15 minutes away.
We didn't even address my mustache.
And I was like, wow, only you will move the schedule time up forward and then be late at your own scheduled time. And I was like, if you weren't my friend, I would tell you to fuck off.
Yeah,
that was my sign of aggression.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, that's something I admire about you. Like, I need to work on that. No doubt. Like, I need to be more punctual and disciplined. That's where I really want to take in 2021. If that what you just named is you say I have this energy, but like, I feel like for me to get to the other side, and I'm very aware of this, it's just hard to do it. I need to be...
You need to be a controlled chaos.
Yes, and I need to be stern, stoic, and I need to cut out emotions, focus on my work, control my ADHD with toning down weed, which I don't smoke that much anymore like I used to, like in college. But, I like to smoke. I like to smoke sometimes. I like to watch my anime. I want to tone that down, especially at night, just because when you smoke at night, people don't realize, like I've talked to a lot of people that say I smoke weed at night. When you smoke weed at night, you wake up the next day groggy.
It carries over.
Yeah, bro. There's no excuse in life. It's bad for you. Like, there's no going around it. Sorry, potheads. It's just the truth. So there's just a lot of things. I'm like, I really need to pay very close, minuscule attention to myself for me and my business to get to where I want to next year. That's the only way. I need to really, like, that's how I get out of these moods, Jake. When something, like, let's say something goes wrong with a job, a client, like, and it hurts and it affects my podcasting. If I'm steadily strong, if I stay steady, if I focus on the boat from, the waves are rocking it, if I focus on keeping it steady, I can get through it and I can keep going. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is why we dissect everything that's happened in 2020. I literally went through my Twitter the other day. I think this was like 2 days ago, and I was reading all of my tweets, starting from the time now all the way back to January 1st or even December 31st of 2019. And I noticed how much I've changed over time. Just the simple framing of my mindset and my sentence structures.
From this year?
From this year alone, yeah.
Wow.
I tried to do this every year to try to look back and see how I've personally grown. And just like, I feel this sense of like hardening over my mentality. Like I've never seen life clearer, and my tweets kind of resonated that and told that message as well through time, looking backwards. Whereas I've always, the way that I send messages through social media has been similar on Twitter. It's been like a combination of like Bitcoin and just like crazy thoughts and open questions, and I've been satirical stuff. Some sarcasm on there as well. But I've noticed this sense of subtle urgency, but also being able that I've been picking up on everybody else's knowledge that I've been talking with as well. And now I start to see different pieces of my tweets and conversations. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of the conversation with Michael Naft. Oh, I've picked up this from Sina. I've picked up this from this person. So I'm like subtly blending all of this information that I've been taking in throughout the year to refine my vision, but also expand my knowledge overall.
I think that's one of the downsides of the route I'm taking with my podcasting is I do like having different conversations with different cool people. That and absorbing what they know. That's the downside of the route I'm taking. That's why this form of podcasting I think is very beneficial, is because you do absorb other people's knowledge. I think the way to combat that is just to read on your own and learn. But as I said, there's nothing like a conversation with someone else. I agree with what you said, in the sense of like you're hardened, like you're more emotionless, like you're more like this matters more and more every day. What does that mean? My bad. The romantic emotions you felt as a child about your parents, about life, about your peers are kind of gone.
And they're a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, and when I say romantic, I'm not talking, you know what I mean? Romanticism, like artistic, literary, emotional things that you felt as a kid, pop cultural things that really got you going, or your view of your parents. Everything as you grow older, it starts to fade away more and more. And now you're kind of like in this, like, your brain's evolving from that state of dependency on all your surroundings into now you're really alone. Now you're only depending on yourself. And that transition to me is what's the most defining moment of your life. How you handle that transition is what determines what the next 30 years. And I think, if you really look at how good Gary Vee preaches in your 20s, it's supposed to be like a dartboard, and you're supposed to throw darts, see what hits and misses. Yeah. That's what you did, with Chameleon, the antique store. And I think this is the dart. I think this dart's going in the middle of the center.
I think so too. I think also when I speak on urgency, also, you're a fellow millennial as well. We realize that we're going into the primes of our life, and the time to succeed is now. We're about to be, you're 25, 26? 25. So your brain is just fully formed now. That is actual scientific data. But from our late...
Wait, explain that?
Your brain doesn't fully develop until 25 years old.
No way.
Yeah.
So I literally just got a fully developed brain?
Yeah. So usually, it's between like 24 and 26.
Fuck, that's dope.
Yeah, so you'll start to understand yourself much better.
So at 27, I'll be prime time brain.
Yeah, you'll be in your ways, but you'll be in your ways as if you're open to taking in new information, if you're curious, then you'll probably remain curious throughout the rest of your life.
Which I am.
Yeah, so that's what keeps the mentality. But we also realize that there's an urgency to succeed, because our late 20s to our late 30s, that's when you take that final fork in the road direction, and you realize this is where life's going. These are my prime years. This is when I need to make my money. My brand has to stand out. If I'm going to, meet the woman of my dreams, then it's probably going to come during these years as well, to have kids. And
I would agree with that.
There's a lot of urgency that's needed, but we're in the beginning of that.
All right, Mr. Lex Friedman, if you want to bring up the woman, I think the woman thing you just mentioned comes after the brand. And I know don't get me wrong, you never make plans in life. If it comes, it comes. But from my experience in life, when you get into a relationship, and I'm trying to give everybody some strategic game, it's about leverage. Everybody says, no, it loves love. Like, I get that. But in any relationship with two people, it's about leverage. And if you in life don't have a successful brand or money brand, there's going to be someone else that does. From a logical perspective, if you can have a good conversation with this woman, and that guy who's successful can too, which they can.
He has the resources.
Why would she choose you? And you know what I mean? And that's just a cold hard truth. I'm a young guy. You said I consider myself old. I put urgency. You said that's very smart. There is urgency. There's a lot of urgency for me, is just like it is for you. And I want to do it within these next 2 years. Like, I want to build my brand. That's why for me, I was talking about sex and relationships to someone. Sorry for putting this live. I personally am chilling right now alone. I probably will be alone for another year. I'm not really worried about those type of things, because I just have full confidence in myself in those situations. And I know right now, from what I've learned in my past experiences, people who focus on that stuff right now, they're really losing, bro. Like, in life, a partnership like that should come naturally. You should never DM girls. You should DM business partners, potential podcast guests. That's what DMs are for, And that's what I'm realizing is going forward is, in my life, is for me to get, the woman in my dreams. You think it's going to be between your late 20s or late 30s? Yeah.
I mentioned that also because if you want to have a kid with a woman, then obviously there's a time limit to that. And
35, 40, yeah.
Yeah, 35, 40. My mom had me, she was 38. That was the very end. So that's
my mom had me at 30. No, my mom had me at 25. My dad was 32. My dad was 31.
But still, it's so, and the dating age gap seems to be widening, because speaking to your tune, women realize that the resources are limited, and if they want to have a kid and a partner, then they have to, go up in age and date, because that person has the resources.
Exactly.
It's literally just, I think we had this conversation before, not on air, but about how everything you do is a fight or flight. There's so much, there's survival instincts attached to everything you do.
See, what you just named is a fight or flight response.
Exactly. Right? It's just the conversation that we have here. It's
this isn't a fight or flight, is it?
No, it's just on a subconscious level. You're like, okay, what if this guy attacked me? The way that this table is positioned to the door, if somebody breaks in, you have to be aware of that. The way that you drive, everything, you're aware
I would
of
argue that the fight or flight response here would be, if I don't record this week, my podcast is going to suffer. And if it suffers, my brand will suffer.
Exactly. Yep. Tailspin.
And so so I'm going to ask you this. Do you think that, are you of the same mindset of me as I'm a big, who doesn't love women? Homosexuals, straight. But I'm saying, are you the same mindset of me of I get that. I'm not saying it's not important. If it comes, it comes. But I really need to focus on this right now.
Yeah. The last 3 years when I quit drinking and everything like that, and stopped chasing women like I did in college, I've really just tried to focus in on what was important to me. And I was like, if a good,
in the last 3 years, you went through Chameleon Antique Store and you got here.
Yeah. If I also have the similar thinking that you do, is that if I focus on my brand, then obviously that'll be attractive to potential mates over time.
Leveraging the podcast for dirty needs, you naughty boy. Go ahead.
The podcast is the branding. It could be the moneymaker. It might be something that I build on top of it. But I think it exudes confidence, and that's one of the prime traits that women are looking for, is confidence. Also, they want resources.
And people, we're very like
kindness
blunt about this.
Yeah, there's a few things. I mean, you just have to open up to what reality actually is and stop hiding behind these facades of, oh, the woman's gonna come find me. Everything I want is gonna come find me. I hate those quotes. It's like, no, the world rewards us people who go out and fucking chase what they want. Like, you have to go out there and get it. It's not coming to you. The world is not going to save you. These politicians are not here to save you.
I agree, but I am also of the belief that women do come to you if you are successful.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like they will find you because you built the resources, because you have the resources and you built success. It's why I tell people, I said this on the election day. The government is not here to save you. They're not. And this just speaks the tune of a $600 stimulus check. Like, you have to go out there and you have to survive. The world is this hierarchical structure of a food chain, right? Like, we're at the top of the food chain. The humans are, but within the own human Homo sapien food chain, there's different levels to it. And you have to go out there and you have to fight every day to survive and make success. And
I think you nailed it. I think people don't realize, like, this is a fight. Like, you said it best. All right, you got to reset. One day of the week, do nothing. But like, your mentality, and I agree, because I was so headstrong about it earlier on when we talked like a couple months ago. I was like, no, I need to do this. Like, no, I need to rest some nights, some days, you know. I mean, I don't rest one day a week, but I rest like 2-3 nights a week.
Yeah, you have to force yourself to do it.
Yeah, I do. Like, for me, Jake, like, people don't understand, if you're not fighting when you wake up, if you're not fighting life, you're doing something wrong, right? I mean, there's a point where you shouldn't be. You should be relaxing. You should have been war tested by then. Like, I agree with what you said. It's really about fighting every day and fighting to put your name into that top 1%. And that means hammering away, posting clips and videos no one watches. But you know why you do that? Because when someone clicks the guest links or talk too much, they see, okay, no one really watched it this week, but he posted.
Consistency.
You know what? You know, and that's why people don't understand, is like, maybe they don't watch the number. When you said you get down about the downloads, I actually wanted to go back to that at some point in this conversation, because I think me too, I did at some point.
But it's arbitrary.
It's awful. That's an awful mentality.
It's arbitrary. Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
It's just like the downloads. It's just a number on a screen, and yes, maybe it makes you feel better, but downloads aren't always a sign of support. People support me throughout different ways. Maybe they don't have a time to listen to an hour of a podcast. I actually have had a lot of people reach out to me and say that they watch the clips that I post and they follow me through that. Same and here. That's on social media, you know, and that's better, because going back to like, why do we do this podcast, right? We're trying to do it because we're trying to provide information and value to people, but we also want to better ourselves and build relationships. And if somebody feels closer to me by watching a 1-minute clip on social media rather than a 1-hour conversation, like, it's still having the same outcome no matter what it is. So why do I sit here and focus on downloads when I'm getting the same results through a 1-minute clip?
And that's what I was going to tell you is, number one, they're still consuming your podcast, but that's why you're uploading your brand through different platforms, different variations. They just chose this one. You know, obviously this is your main form, the YouTube or the audio version and YouTube version, but they might, you know, certain people's attention spans, I'm in the same way with you. But what I want to talk to you about is, I think that mentality is very wrong, and I do it too, and every podcaster does. But
which one? About focusing on downloads?
On numbers, and it's because it's unhealthy. And well, this doesn't really attribute to you, because you do focus on the quality of a conversation. You can't help but not want the numbers to go up, you know? But I was at that mentality too, is like, I started off really hot on YouTube, and I did really well. And then by episode, I was like, oh, we're going to do this. And I started focusing so much on the numbers that it got me in a whirlwind, and I didn't enjoy that. And so now I kind of focus on the marketing. I'm going to post 4 clips a week. John's going to post 4. We're both going to do that. We're going to really like hammer the little things and focus on the quality of our conversation. Focus on us learning how to, like, the lighting and technical stuff now, rather than the numbers and the views, because guess what? They're going to suck for a little bit again. Cause now I'm not really trying to go for that anymore. As I wasn't like, I also think, I don't know why, I still don't know why, I can't put my finger on it, why my shit started off kind of hot at the beginning.
It's probably the algorithm in YouTube.
Here's my thing on it is, like, I posted an episode with Shane. It still went, it had a very good episode. So it's like, I feel like I can hit 1 to 2K again, but it's like, that can't come consistently. I need to be okay with that. Number one. Number two, I can't even, That's a number on a screen.
Exactly.
Can't focus on that. I got to focus on the conversation, you know? And that's my whole mentality now, you know?
Yep. So I actually had a woman on here. Her name's Lacey Cerrone. She started a podcast in Vegas in 2014, and they reached 1 million downloads in 9 months.
I know who you're talking. I saw this about you shit. You posted this.
But she told me that they didn't look at downloads because it didn't matter. It was about the engagement. It was about how people responded to it. The number, again, is arbitrary to use the same word again. It's just a number on a screen. We can't focus on it because there's so many other benefits to doing a podcast, and people interpret it in so many different ways that support isn't always directly correlated to downloads.
And I think that's taken away, like you and I are artists, and we can't help but want our episodes to do well, but it takes away from the value of our stuff when we focus on the downloads as opposed to the quality. You know what I mean?
It's so unfortunate the way that we view success with numbers.
Yeah.
Also, another woman I had on here, her name's Katie Chunghwa. She has like 70,000 followers on Instagram and a check mark. And she's literally said this on here, that it's unfortunate that people engage or use followers as a metric to how successful somebody is. The majority of my most downloaded episodes outside of a few are actually from people who have like no followers, but it's like those few hundred people who followed them are actively engaged rather than having 60,000 followers where only half follow you, some are bots, and whatever the case is. So it's like you shouldn't use these artificial numbers as a way to determine somebody's success level. Yes, maybe it's a great additional benefit.
It is a good barometer.
But it's not something that is the final say in terms of how well people are doing.
Yeah, like for here's my thing on it is, I think number one, outreaching and marketing, like you do have to focus on numbers in that sense. Like you have to constantly market your product. But in the sense of like, if you focus on the quality of the conversation and consistently put it out and market it well, you will grow. If you focus on the numbers only, your quality probably won't be that good, and you probably might get them to the table, but they'll leave right away. You know what I mean? So that's why I noticed I'm kind of on the same. It's about, you know, as you said, this is the toxicity of social media. This is what it does. It influences your peers' opinion and leverages it against you. You got to be stronger than that. You got to be a producer, not a consumer, and not go down that rabbit hole. It's hard not to, though, because you and I both know of your peers' opinion matters to you. It's a lot of people. It
does. You just have to prime yourself, and I guess just create different routines and ideologies around it. I find myself actually now not looking at the downloads as much. I used to literally reload it every hour when I first started, just to see what happened and kind of understand the human behavior behind it. But now it's like,
you're more experienced now.
A little more experienced now, a little more seasoned. Still only been 8 months, you know, but seems much longer.
You've been recording for 8 months?
Yeah, since April, I think 13th was like the first episode. 75 episodes in a year.
So let me ask you,
I tell you, shoot out of a cannon and just never look back.
So let me ask you this. Yeah, that's true. 2 times a week too. What would you do? Do you think you'd have as much fun recording this show if you were a millionaire, you had a big estate? Like, do you think you'd still have as much? Do you think you'd have more fun when you look back when you're 60? Do you think you're going to have more fun? Do you think you'd have, your prediction right now, do you think you'll have more fun doing the show when you're 30 to 40, when you've already made it, or 28 to 29?
I think there's a sort of romanticism around doing it early when you're just beginning in the journey. And some of the people that I talk with, actually the majority of people I talk with are just beginning their journey, or maybe they're in the middle of the road. I've had a few that are at their peak or kind of reflecting on it.
CEO of Plaza Hotel had to be at his peak.
He's in his prime, you know, or like Jeff Abraham, who's in his 60s, created 2 successful businesses, multimillionaire, yada, 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 and you get to reflect on it. But there's this sort of energy and just intimacy and just grit that surrounds these young entrepreneurs or business owners or creators or whatever their domain is, that just really makes me energized. And it just like, we get to share that energy together because we both haven't reached where we want to be, where I think if I am successful already, let's just say I have $10 million, living in a nice house, Bitcoin's at $1 million or whatever the case is. You know, I've reached this level of success, and it's still, at the end of the day, it's still human communications. And that's something that I've embraced and enjoyed throughout my entire life, whether I was in elementary school getting in trouble for always talking in class and getting bad citizenship grades because of it, to where I'm 40 and successful and have everything that I want. I'm still going to enjoy meeting new people, and maybe I'll be helping them more than they're helping me. So there's a little bit different of a dynamic that surrounds it, but I think it's going to be hard to beat the beginning years of the journey. And when you listen to all the success stories, they always say to enjoy the journey in the moment.
And that's one thing I realized going to next year is I need to make sure I enjoy every moment, like enjoy every activity. And when it's hard, enjoy it. I get the opportunity to do something hard, because I feel like, me personally, I'm getting so like, I want this lifestyle. I want everybody to realize, you know, I'm the best. I'm the competitor, you know, like, you know, I can sell anything online, you know, and I have so much. I talked to Tyler the other day, like, we still suck. We have so much to learn, and I need to really appreciate this stage. And I think that comes with not trying to be super rich and successful right now, because that's what I've been putting pressure on myself to do all year. So I feel like going into next year is going to be a very big year for me. The best years, even it's going to be hard to beat this year. Sorry to everybody that had bad years. I just happen to thrive in this chaotic year, as you did too. This is going to be one of the best years of your life too, it seems like.
Yeah. This is the most fun I've had since college.
Not yet. And I would argue it's, you know, probably the best for your future, most you've invested. Even though, I would argue that I would argue this is the most beneficial year for your future, because you really got your brand going. Like, you know, good, as you said, you fucking shot out the cannon. So going 2021, I understand the key to everything we talked about in this conversation, whether it be enjoying oneself, enjoying your craft more and more. I think that comes with eliminating completely outside influences. Like, when I say January 1st, I will be a robot. I will be a completely different person. I've been mentally preparing myself. I started last night with burning sage. Like, people laugh because it's corny. I need to do some corny spiritual shit. Like,
it's whatever gets you in that mode. Like, I completely stand behind.
And I think that next year, you said it best. I think it just comes with being more experienced, being more true to oneself. You know, at the end of the day, I'm very curious to see. Like, I always think to myself when I think about you, like, like, is there that? And I'm going to ask you this question actually. Is there that much of a difference from when you were 25 to now?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Dramatic difference. Just because I think what kicked it off is quitting partying, quit drinking, quit smoking.
And how long did it take for you to notice that difference?
I'd say probably 6 months. So when I reset what I was doing, I unfollowed every single rave and club on social media.
Really?
I sold my TV, got rid of my TV.
Was this earlier this year?
No, this was 2017. 2017. Yeah, when I started my businesses and stuff. And because I'd realized I was getting off the wrong track. And I was like, all right, well, if I want, again, with the urgency thing, if I want to be the person that I've always dreamed of, I'm going to have to make some changes now. I'm going to have to continue to outgrow my friend circles, and it's nothing against them. Like, if you're complacent and content with where you're at, like, that's completely okay with me. You know, I'll support you.
Shots fired.
I'll support you with whatever you do. I mean, I've still some of my friends.
I'm in the same position. I feel you.
And the people who want to continue to grow with me and do something different, then they get to grow with me. But I'm, again, stepping out of the circle and moving forward with different things in my life. So
you're against that, you said?
No, like, if they want to grow with me, then please, like, join. I'm always actively helping people, whether they reach out to me for questions, advice, consultation, anything like that. Like, I give them complete 100% free information, because of the pure joy that I want them to succeed and grow with me, to share this moment with somebody who's from your past. It sucks outgrowing people that you've been friends with for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years. And
motherfucker, you have not been friends with someone for 20 years, have you?
My best friend, Cody Kraft, probably not listening to this, but we've been friends since we were 2 years old, grew up on the same street. Every once in a while, he just moved to Texas, unfortunately. But
that's what cut off the relationship? Or the Outgrowing did?
Outgrowing did, yeah. I went to college, and he didn't. And when I joined the fraternity,
Cody actually listens to each one of your episodes.
I hope Cody's listening. He knows that I love him, and he's still one of my best friends. He'll still be one of my best men whenever I get married, whenever that day is. Like I'm a very loyal person, and he never really fucked me over or anything like that. He never gave me a reason to just cut him out completely.
It just so happened that your path, like your life was going just...
It was going, because I was going to college and I joined a fraternity, and he understood what I was doing. And, he's always been supportive whenever he's online or whatever. He kind of has like a different lifestyle. And so those are the friends that you want to keep the most, where it's like when you sit and talk with them after not seeing them for 6 months or a year, it seems like nothing's changed. Like, seems like you go back to those moments that you shared together in your past and realize like why you guys grew so fond of each other over time. And so
that's sad now that you're saying that, because a lot of relationships, it is sad. Life's very sad and it's short. And what you just mentioned is, a very unfortunate part of life that people, I said this so many times, and it sucks when you think about it. That's what really it hurt me so much. I kind of force myself just now I'm in my own bubble. I focus on myself because I'm not trying to deal with that. But everybody it's like you could be best friends with someone in this life one day. And I'm not, whatever the context of your relationship is, you and I could be homies. We could be brothers. We could be, I could be married to a girl, or we could be a gay couple, whatever you want to describe it. The next day in life, this relationship could split apart like that. Maybe something I did that your ego didn't like, and vice versa. And now we're too prideful to keep going. And that is hard to get over, that pride. And that's something I'm making a point in my life to never put your pride before a relationship. I'm pretty good at that, It doesn't mean if you're in the right, don't admit you're wrong. But I'm just saying, like, never let your pride get in the way of a relationship. Like, always find a compromise, because this life is short. Now, what you just mentioned is very sad. Like, it's cool that with friendships, like, I have a lot of friends that, I could talk to after I haven't talked to in a minute. But as time goes on and it's just sad when you talk to them and you remember the good times when life was so free, you didn't have all those things, So, yeah, that's the sad part of life. That's the ego. That's the human ego that gets in the way of a lot of good things.
Yeah, and you have to be aware of like you said, the context of the relationship. When you form friendships when you're younger, you guys are kind of just trying to understand life together, and you're
looking for the most enjoyment out of it. Yeah,
you're learning new facets to life. You're drinking for the first time. You're making failures and errors together. Once you get older, you start to resonate with people who either share the same ideals, same interests, maybe coworkers. I think that's kind of more of a forced relationship, though.
Coworkers?
Yeah. So a lot of people who, have friend circles within their coworkers, it's because you're around each other for so long and for 40 hours a week that eventually you're going to find areas where you connect with each other. Whereas like you and I have formed a relationship because we met through podcasting, and then we realized that we share a lot of the same ideals and mentality.
A lot of other people don't.
I think it's a relationship that's going to stand much longer because the context of what we formed around wasn't dependent on sharing 40 hours a week together or trying to discover life before our brains have formed.
And also, I also think it's because we became friends in that way. Like, for example, I was late today, and there's certain things like you'll say that piss me off, or I'll do that'll piss you off. But we know how much respect, like we know what we think of each other. Like whatever you may think of me at a certain time, you know who I really am, and vice versa. Like if you ever piss me off or something, I know at the end of the day, I can't really get mad at you because you're a grinder, you're a boss. I have that respect for you, and that's why I think this relationship will also go further, because I don't think there's jealousy here. I think a lot of relationships falter because of jealousy. As I said, like I have no problem admitting, you're a better podcaster than me, or that, you're doing well. Like I love to see your success. And I feel like, because it has nothing to do with me. Why would I want to bring you down? Like that's fucked up.
Makes no sense.
It makes no sense. Like, and I also said this off camera, like if you were to ever make it, you would probably take me out. Like we'd have a good time. Like yeah, I'm one of your homies. Like why wouldn't I want that? You know what I mean? I want to see you happy. And I've personally seen the week by week growth. We've documented it together. I've called you multiple times, and I've seen like your guests. You've told me about, like I've seen it from day 1, day 12 to now, to episode 12 to now. So like I've really seen your grind. So I don't know, do you deal with that in life where you have people that you like, you fuck with, but you know they're envious of you in a way, and it really it's frustrating because like you care about them, but they do shit out of spite, and you're like, why would you do that? Have you ever had that relationship?
Yeah, and I could kind of tie this into a Bitcoin metaphor as well, right? So like people, even though Bitcoin's this like generational wealth distributor that's going to be a once in a lifetime thing, this technology that's going to completely rechange how finance is done. But I've been pitching it to people since it was $1,200, and it just continues to grow and grow and grow, and people feel like they missed out, even though they still haven't missed out. And so they just continue to resent it more and more and more as it becomes more successful, even though you've been with that, you've told them for years and years to do it, and it's still not too late. But it's just because of their ego getting in the way of saying like, look, I know we're friends, or I know I had this opportunity before, and I'm should hop on it now because it's never too late to
No
do
one
it.
would do that though, Jake. No one would do that. Like I get on Bitcoin, but in life, do you think a friend would actually do that? Like drop their ego? That would be a very strong person. If someone could do that to me, that's a friend worth keeping.
It happens. There's also this phenomenon in life, which I've kind of started to notice as well, is that when you first start something, whether it's a project, a podcast, or whatever, a new interest, these people, like, for example, when I started posting on Instagram about my podcast in the beginning, I lost probably like 50 to 100 followers. But then they all eventually started following me now. It's because
you got you got the followers that fuck with you.
Yeah, but even those people who left that were following me, like, ended up following me again because they didn't like the dramatic change. Maybe because, I'm not trying to call anyone out or anything. This is just me spectating. Maybe they didn't like the association that I was trying to do something different, and they wanted the Jake that was just content with where he was then.
Were these people that unfollowed you people you know of, knew in your past?
People I know and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But, and it could also be just different social media algorithms and dynamics and things like that.
Maybe they just didn't want to see your posts.
Yeah, maybe they didn't want to see it. But then once they start to understand that you're having success, then they want to support you. But they didn't want to support you in the beginning because they didn't like the new route that you were going.
And then they found out, okay, there's nothing I can do to stop this. I might as well support it.
Support and hop, So that's why that's the exponential return. That's like the what's it called? The network effect.
Did you gain confidence when those old people followed you back? Like, were you like happy on the inside? Like,
yeah, of course, because they're still my friends. And it was kind of like, that was like a mental barrier that was preventing me from starting earlier. It was like, I don't want to lose all of these followers because I'm going to be quote unquote spamming them with this new podcasting stuff, but then you realize the majority of people, 90% of the people, are going to stay there because they support you and whatever your endeavor is. And then the other 10%, you don't want them anyways, but then they circle back.
Whatever the percentage is, you could be 99%. You want to hone in. It's niche marketing on that niche that fucks with you. You don't want to focus on 99% of people that half-ass or don't like your shit, And also, I think that, personally, I wish that happened to me. I don't think anybody from my past is that strong to do something like that. That takes a lot of action because to drop your ego and be vulnerable in situations, even for me, sometimes it's very hard. But I think that's the key to life, especially this thing. It's really a game. It's really a game. I keep telling people everything. Like, a lot of people have come up to me in 2020 and said, well, even recently, especially, this is where it's coming from, is like, this has been a very hard year. In a lot of situations I hear, I can't relate, so I stay quiet. But a lot of situations, because I don't want to be ignorant, but a lot of situations, Jake, like, I look at these people and it's just like, okay, well, let's look at their life. Sina's been a hard year for me. I'm depressed. Like, I've had so many people tell me this lately, and I realized, and I wanted to transition into mental health because of this reason. It pissed me off. Like, I understand mental health is a serious issue in our society, and I understand because going through this year, when I'm looking for my first big boy job, I'm looking for contracts. It's hard mentally. Like, it really fucks. Box 1 hurts box 3 and box 4. What we were talking about earlier. So, but that doesn't mean it's an excuse to throw in the towel or just have this defeated mentality. Sina, I'm depressed. Like, Jake, even if my parents and my family were to get massacred tonight, which I would grieve like crazy and probably like really be hurt, I will never say I'm depressed, because saying I'm depressed, that phrase means I am in a consistent cycle of sadness currently, and I can't get out of it. I don't know how to get out of it. That's settling, what we were talking about in life. That you have to understand. Perception is reality. What the emotions you feel, they're only you. They're in your own head. Like, you could be mad about your friend doing something, your girlfriend doing something. That's only you in your head. That's not real. So knowing this, what were we talking about? So I got off track. You looked
mental health.
Yeah, mental health is very important. And I think, I'm not trying to denounce it, but I think people need to be stronger. Before they say, I'm depressed, are you working a job you don't like? Are you going to the gym? Are you eating healthy? You can attest to this, because you eat very healthy. You're one of the cleanest eaters I know. Is eating healthy and going to the gym in the morning, because you do both, does that help your day?
Yeah, completely.
Your mood? Your confidence?
The mood, yeah. So even I've actually put on a few pounds over the last few months just from holiday eating and stuff.
You look bigger.
But now I'm starting to lose and get back into, that like 6-pack shape that I was in for a long time. You look
buffer.
Thanks. It helps a lot with your confidence and able to perform, the way that you view yourself. And healthy eating, it helps prevent a clouded mind. I really do think more clearly from this health standpoint. But also going back to your point, have you ever read the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
Yeah, that's like the most...
Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
He basically, and this is in line of your thinking, is that when people say, when the poor dad, he was actually rich or whatever, but he says that he's poor, being poor is a mentality. Not having money is what's objective. And you're saying like, I just don't have the capital right now. But saying I'm poor is like you're associating your economic status with the person that you are, and you're saying that I'm poor. It's a mentality.
And I see a lot of people complain about like life in this year, Jake, and it's like, this is gonna sound fucked up, but they're a little bit out of shape. They're a little chubby, and it's like, I'm not trying to. There's a lot of people out of shape that are obese, and they could be good people, but I judge those people, and people hate on me for saying this because that shows. Well, that you don't have that go-getter mentality. Now, a lot of obese people like are comedians, they do, but that shows a serious lack of discipline, in my opinion. Like, I eat unhealthy. I'm trying to eat healthy. Like, I'm forcing myself to cook more, but I work out every day, and I'm genuinely so self-aware of my unhealthy eating habits that like I'm starting to really instill discipline in my eating regime. But a lot of people, like, they say, hey, I'm having a tough time in life right now. Dude, you're out of shape. Like you're not working a job you like. Like, you said it best. Like, you have to live. I'm not a millionaire, but I don't think there's anybody more talented than me. And same with you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're the best show out. You won't let anybody tell. If you saw Lex Friedman right now, you look him in the eyes as an equal. Like, we're looking at each other right now. Mm-hmm. No?
Yeah,
did you know?
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though he's
amazing.
He is you're down his path. Like, if I were to compare you to a podcaster, it would be him, in my opinion.
I apprate that.
Would you agree with that?
I love that. I would love
your
to
setup
be
looks
in his caliber.
You are. I think you're starting off smaller than, he's in MIT. He started off in AI.
Yeah.
You're starting off in Vegas, but your interview style and your setups and your camera angles are the exact same as Lex Friedman's. The only difference is his curtain, which he also has a curtain.
Yeah, it's a black curtain.
It's black. Yeah. That's the only difference.
And he does 3 to 4 hour podcasts. I would love to do that. Oh my God, I would thrive really hard.
If you're getting 500,000 people.
Yeah.
If we're getting 500,000 to 1 million people per episode. Oh, 5 hours, boy, bring your popcorn.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but
you have to understand, again, being aware of what your circumstance and your surrounding is. I know right now people aren't going to listen to a 3 hour podcast. So that's why I kind of cut them short. Relatively. That's why I don't do 3 hours.
People might listen to Joe Rogan said it best. But
I don't do 3 hours consistently, also because I don't have the time to edit everything as well. But I'm aware the majority, I've even done like surveys on social media that people like it when it's an hour shorter. But I don't think that I gain anything, going back to the whys, I don't think I gain anything from anything less than an hour, because I'm also trying to connect with the person across from me. I'm trying to understand who they are and build that genuine friendship. And it's hard to do that in just 30 minutes. So I'm also not gaining anything from it.
So my goal on that, this is the big thing. My goal for 2021, Jake, and the reason I'm taking a different stance with this show is because I want to be able to hit 2 hour episodes, because that, as I said, that's better. And you said you took that survey on social media. Wherever you take that survey, people always favor shorter content. But truth of the matter is, statistics say YouTube homepage videos are most successful if they're longer than an hour. Joe Rogan put that stat out too, and I actually looked that up. It's true. So I kind of am the belief, like, I want to be able to comfortably put out 2-3 hour episodes, but just like you said, it's also, we're at the stage, since we're rookies, we have to take efficiency into it, not straight art, because we want to get to the part where our time is leveraged and we could just focus solely on the art. So 3-hour episodes editing, like, do you edit like camera angles? Because I see, so you, when I'm talking, you have to cut out you have
to click back and forth.
Yeah, you have to cut out the parts where.
Yeah, so it's like however long my podcast is, it's how long it takes editing it. Just because I don't actually
double. So you have to stop in each part and no.
No, you just click back and forth in live time. But so basically you take the two MP4s and the MP3 from the audio, and then you create a multi-cam sequence
on Adobe Premiere right now.
On Adobe Premiere, and then you just make them all lined up, and then you just click back and forth while it runs in real time to edit the camera angles. I'll show you after this.
Yeah, can you? Because what I do is, I'm kind of pissed because what I've been doing since
okay, I'll show you after this, but. The reason why I do tend to keep it shorter, I mean, I've done 2.5-hour ones, but I don't do it all the time because unlike Lex and Joe Rogan and some of these other people that do these long shows, they have the caliber guests that will spread to hundreds of thousands of people in one post. Whereas I don't, and so you have to kind of build that community.
Do you think so? Because like a lot of Lex Friedman's guests, I don't think have great social presences, but have crazy.
He was also on Joe Rogan very early. He appeared on Joe Rogan's show.
I'm talking. Yeah, that's big. I'm saying his guests aren't like big brand guests like Joe Rogan's. Like
no, they're like MIT. They're professors
high within the intellectual community.
Yeah, exactly. So they have their own fan base within themselves. Vegas it's a little different as well, just because podcasting is not popular. This is also a guess, but I would say that Vegas is probably under the 50% podcast consumption number.
For sure, because this city is all about entertainment and stupid activities, stupid shit.
You would think so. The podcasting, it's still relatively new in its infancy. The majority of people that I've had on the show have never even been on a podcast or don't listen to podcasts, but they like the opportunity and they associate being on a podcast kind of like being on TV success. So it's something that's going to take more time to evolve.
I think that there's a lot of podcasts, but as we said earlier, it's like in 5 years, you're going to look back and see the people that have consistently posted are still going to be there.
Exactly.
And those are the people
So it's all about consistency. And I enjoy having the conversations and doing anything less than an hour. I've done a few that are less than an hour, but that's because like Michael Naft, he's a busy guy. He works for the government, and Jonathan Jostle's running a casino, and some of these other people, they have limited schedules. But mark my word, if they're sitting here in front of me in person, we're recording at least an hour or an hour and a half.
You've done some episodes through Zoom before?
I've done, yeah. I mean, I had to start off in Zoom because of COVID.
Did you really?
We recorded on Zoom our first podcast.
Oh my God, I just remembered you really did.
Yeah.
And it's still probably a little bit iffy getting people come here.
So this is how I know my brand is at least working, and I'm not trying to toot my horn, is that I'm getting women that I just DM online to come over here and record with me. And it shows that they feel safe because they feel safe around me, which is awesome. It's tough. And
it doesn't happen to every guy.
Exactly. So I don't come off predatorial, which is awesome because I don't try
pat on the back for you.
I don't try to do that. So it takes time to do these kind of things. And it's unfolding more and more.
I mean, the bet is right there, though.
Yeah, there's actually been a few jokes of like, oh, this could also be a porn set.
And what did you say when you made it? Yeah. Anyway, back to the episode.
Yeah. I can see it now in the future. Podcaster uses podcast as a means of power.
This place looks like it's actually a very well put together place. It could be a sex palace one day. I'm gonna take myself out of that conversation. But what I was gonna say is actually what this place actually gave me inspiration for my setup. Like I started living. I want to build it back up. I tore down my place at the beginning of this year for this intention, but I want to live more comfortably. Like this is your own little bubble. Like there's not even, no one can even see inside of here, can they? Mm-mm. Do you have soundproof shit on here?
No. It's just, I just have the curtains up and the window. I close the windows obviously when we're
It's pretty good.
But it's pretty good for the quality. And I kind of I just have to submerge myself into anything that I do. I think you have to be slightly obsessive if you want to be successful in whatever your brand or business is. And just having the podcast here, literally 5 feet away from my bed.
No, I agree.
It's like I'm completely submerged in it. It's my life. I work where I live and I live where I work.
Facts. And same here. I have been living out of my parents a little bit more, but I want to ask, what are your goals for this in 2021? For the guest list?
I think distribution is very important. Finding new channels to distribute that's not just the traditional social media. I think that'll also improve once Vegas is reopened and I can go to different things like live podcasting and speaking events and different things of this nature. I do have to get a little innovative at this time. So that's just a presented challenge that I have to overcome, which you can overcome any challenge that's in front of you. So I have to be creative about it. I think
1,000 subscribers should be both of our goals 2021.
For YouTube.
Yeah. Well, I want to be able to just get over that mark just to start getting money.
I think, yeah. Also, I think 2021 is going to be the most transformative year of my life because I think Bitcoin is going to give me financial freedom.
Next year? You think so in 2021?
I'm almost positive. And I've kind of...
So quick question. If it were to reach a certain... When you say financial freedom, would you take out your Bitcoin funds and convert them into USD fiat?
To have financial freedom, I would, yeah. There's a baseline that I have...
So you would pull out in 2021?
Some. I mean, there's a baseline. There's a reason I've never sold. I've only sold once since I started investing in 2017. There's a certain baseline I have set that I'll never go below. Like I will always hold Bitcoin no matter what the price is. If it's $10 billion, I'll still hold it because it's also almost a novelty at this time as well. But I also have to understand that in order to upgrade my life, I have to sell it and I have to appreciate the journey that came along with it and not cashing out all of it, but some of it to, buy a house or to cash out enough to live off of for a few years or whatever I need to do, invest in further upgrades for the podcast.
Your number one asset is time for guest list. That should be your number one.
Exactly. I'm going to have to take out money to bring on a producer, somebody to edit my videos, different things of this nature. Maybe it's an intern.
You think you need that?
Eventually, yeah, so that I can focus just on the podcast. And then I'll really have the ability to have 3-hour conversations once I'm able to outsource it. I also want to continue writing my book. I think that'll come.
You need to find yourself a Jamie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually said this on a recent podcast. The book I've been kind of writing in it ever since I was younger. And so I think I'll finally be able to continue it maybe towards the end of next year. And so it's called Vegas Native.
You told me about it.
Yeah. So
he's so happy. He smiled.
Yeah,
When he said that.
I've actually
Vegas Native.
I've been telling people I was going to write this book since I was in high school because I realized when I was in high school that this isn't a normal life to live.
So your book is like my anime.
Yeah, that's something that I've been looking forward to since I was in high school. Also, a goal I had in high school.
You wanted to call it Vegas Native in high school?
No, it's had working titles, but I think that's going to be the name. Also, a goal in high school was I wanted to be a millionaire by 30 years old.
That could happen. Don't rule that out yet, buddy.
Yeah.
Bitcoin might take you there, but...
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Financial freedom. So I think those are two important goals because as it looks now, I don't think I'm going to go back to Omnia.
I don't think you need to. Honestly, I was telling someone about your money saved up in Bitcoin. Let's say it doesn't go up. If you could probably...
I still wouldn't have to go back, but there's a certain number that I'm looking for.
To give for comfortability.
For comfortability, yeah. To not even hesitate because what if Bitcoin's at a certain number and it drops significantly, which it's always possible. I don't think it will see a super significant retrace, but like an 85% drop for those that are listening.
You could live off 30K next year.
I don't want to live with the regret of people going back to work and making a lot of money, which is what happens at these nightclubs, and me regretting it. But just the fact of I like where my life's at now, and I hated working graveyard since after about the first year of doing it. That's really what prevents me from doing it is I'm favoring the quality of life over money, and I'm really starting to understand what that means over time.
I also think that you buying into Omnia is buying into short-term gain.
Exactly. Yes.
That's the main 100%. Thing. Whereas even though it's hard, your comfortability is less right now, even though I doubt that, as you said, quality of life, but even though you don't have the financial gains you did at Omnia now, this is 1 million times more important for your future success than Omnia, because the money you make in Omnia for a whole year, you might make in a month when this thing takes off, in a day.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's really possible to do. So I think like I said, now it's time to represent the brand that I've built. It's time to actually indulge in it and figure out what that means for the rest of my life. And I think 2021 is going to be very transformative for my life.
So you're saying 2021 is going to involve not just a lot of gains externally, but a lot of internal decisions about yourself and finding out new things about yourself, where you're saying 2021 is when you really find yourself and set forth on this brand you built.
Set forth. Yeah. There's no more, there's not going to be, I mean, there's always going to be forks in the road, but there's obviously the major fork in the road is going back to Omnia or not. And that's kind of going to propel everything else forward. Whereas
are you certain on that? Are you 100% certain or?
No, I'm not married to the idea. Most ideas I'm not really married to, just because how weird.
You're what married? That going back or not going back?
I'm not married to not going back.
Okay.
So like I could go back. I'm just like, I'm trying to evaluate every day as it comes, just because as we've seen, 2020 has been kind of all over the place. Although we did have very focused minds on what we wanted, the externalities that have surrounded us has been a revolving door every day of what's happening.
And I agree. I'm kind of in that. That's one thing I realized is, okay, I had my business. I want to focus on this stuff, but I know that to get to that level, I need to make that sacrifice and get a big boy job and have a direct cash flow to get my e-commerce business off. It's kind of like a similar situation, even though I don't think you need that necessarily. I personally was going to say this.
Yeah. What are your 3 focal points of 2021?
Mentally, like I'm a big believer in my intellect, but as I said, my weakness is my brain is very weak. In terms of discipline, it's just growing bigger. But I want 2021 to be what I believe I am mentally. I want to be convinced of that. I want to really convince myself that I am what I believe to be mentally. Number 1. Number 2, I want Talk Too Much to be an entertaining, valuable podcast by the end of the next year, more so than it is now. I want to grow that show. And then number 3, that's my show, my brand. I want to, by the end of next year, be where you are now, brand-wise. Like, I want to, okay, I built it now, which I think I have, but that's just my mindset. I want to be where you are now next year with my show. I want to feel comfortable with my art. I want to have a clear-cut flagpole, Like, it might be good, it might be solid in some areas, but I want to feel comfortable with my art. And then I want to be a full-on entrepreneur. Like, I want to, the money I make from my big boy job, I want to invest into Cardoggy and T2M, and I want to be a full-on entrepreneur. I want to fail a lot next year. And as I said, there's 6 corners of life I believe you need to do at this age to be successful. Number 1, a main direct cash flow. It could be a business, could be a job. Number 2, money off social media, podcasting, whatever it may be, Twitch streaming, social media branding. Number 3, specifically cryptocurrency investments, not stocks, specifically crypto. Yeah. I know you're happy I said that.
I'm a proud father over here.
Yeah, proud big bro. He specifically, not stocks, that's all I'm gonna say. And then 4, I want to have an e-commerce store. 5, the gym. I really I want to push this body. I want to see, I wasn't born with the most athletic genes. I want to see how good I can look next year. And yeah, number 6 is family and friends. I do believe the relationships that matter in my life, valuable. We were talking earlier when we were younger, we were looking for what I want out of a relationship with you, Jake, when we were 12 years old, is entertainment, is fun, right? What we both want out of this relationship is Sina better provide me value if he still wants to be in my life, right? Mm-hmm. And vice versa. So I want to be able to provide value to my family and friends, and really 2021, I want to be at a position this time next year where I feel like I'm about to break out. I feel like I've done a big, which I feel kind of like now, but I want to feel more so at 2021. So 2021 is really about the only way to get there is mental strength. So that's what I'm really focusing on, stoicism and mental strength.
Very well put. All right. I always ask one question, but I've already asked you this question. So
I know what you're about to ask me.
I'm changing it for this conversation because we're doing 2020 year in review. One bold 2021 prediction for the world. What would you have to guess? What do you think? What would your 2021 bold prediction be in terms of something that maybe will happen in society?
To myself or society?
No, just the world outside of the world of Sina.
If I was about to say something with myself. 2021?
Yeah, no, bold prediction for the world.
Okay, give me literally 10 seconds.
That's completely okay. It could be anything from politics, finance, Vegas, the way like maybe something falters, something succeeds. It could be anything. The college system completely goes away.
I think by this time next year, my bold prediction, because I'm 5% sure of it, not 95, our goals won't matter anymore. We probably won't care about growing a podcast. I think we might come in contact with extraterrestrials, and I think when that moment happens, a lot of life priorities need to be reassessed across humanity. And I believe the news that just came out that the Israeli governor or whatever the fuck,
he was like the ex-defense minister.
Yeah, he said that the U.S. was in cahoots with alien forces, and it's not that they were in cahoots. The aliens didn't want humanity to know about them, and the U.S. was keeping it secret. Is that what it was?
Something of that nature.
I believe that fully, 100%. Not even I don't fully believe it, but I believe that there could be true. So I believe, if you want to ask me a bold prediction, I don't think they want to be seen. I do think the moment that we find out that extraterrestrials are real, our humanity's in danger. So I think that we might come up in that area, and I'm not excited for it, and I hope it happens after I die. And people yell at me saying, why aren't you curious? But it's like, I like my comfort zone and my dreams. Like, not my comfort zone, but humanity's comfort zone and my dreams. I don't want that taken away, you know? And I think, like, if we were to ever meet aliens, at this point, you'd start to think more of, like, what's humanity's rate of survival, not will the guest list be big, you know, or talk too much. So that's my bold prediction, is we come up on I think we find some real alien information next year. Do you think that could be true or not?
I think it's possible. I mean, the Pentagon said that UFOs are real.
Yeah, they confirmed that recently, like 3 months ago, 2 months ago. So, yeah. 145, boy.
145.
That's solid. It's your second longest, right?
No, I've done like maybe 5 or 6 over 2 hours. The longest I've done is like 2 hours and 30 minutes approximately.
Now, if we had a specific topic that you could get me going on, it was a free form. I would have got on. You know,
I could have continued this a little bit longer, but I know you also have a podcast you have to do after this. But where do I direct all of the listeners and viewers to get involved with you?
You can go on Jake's Twitter, look up guest list anywhere. I don't want any of his. I want you all to support my boy here. You know, that's what's most important. So look up guest list on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, and download his episodes. And listen, I thought this was a fantastic conversation. I really think y'all are tripping if you don't listen to this. Just because whether you know him or me or not, I feel like the energy we provide as you listen to this conversation will bring you value. I think anybody that follows his show should really give this episode a listen.
Of course.
Yeah. But on the real note, talk too much. T2M Marketing on Instagram. Yeah. No, just talk too much on YouTube or Instagram. That's all.
Make sure you subscribe to that. It's not uploaded on the podcast channels, just YouTube show?
Oh, no. You can find it on Spotify, Apple, Google Play, Anchor, like whatever you audio stream. I don't have it on Podbean. I think we go through different distribution channels. Mm-hmm. Does Podbean put it through Podbean?
No, I use Buzzsprout.
And Buzzsprout puts it on Podbean?
No, Podbean is the media provider. Like Podbean is like Buzzsprout.
Do you use Podbean?
No, I use Buzzsprout.
Oh, you only use Buzzsprout? Yeah,
Buzzsprout then distributes it to all of the directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, yada yada yada. Yeah.
How many does it? Do you know how many really quickly? I might because
there's like 16 that it's directories that are linked to Buzzsprout.
And do you? Which one do you just pick with Spotify or Apple and advertise that one?
You literally just click on there. Yeah, type in your RSS feed and it links it up there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got that.
Well, thank you guys for listening. It's been a crazy 2020 year, I have to say.
This mustache is going away.
So much has changed. We started off with World War III. Kobe Bryant died.
Oh, yeah, bro. That was a year ago.
It's insane. Coronavirus. We had the BLM protests and riots. Trump lost the election.
Bitcoin took off.
Fraud. Bitcoin finally found its natural habitat, which I believed in for a while. A lot of validation that's happened. Coronavirus basically wiped out a lot of the dying trends in society and is accelerating us to what we always thought the future would be, the digital world.
It really is.
2021, I think it's going to be a transformative and life-changing year for both of us.
Let's hope so. We could think, but let's hope so. Let's pray for the best.
We think, but we have to act.
Act and stay steady at all times, because you don't know what's going to happen. It can get low, it can get high. So just stay cool and calm and collected.
Embrace it. Thank you guys for listening this entire 2020 year. I appreciate all of you guys who have been here with me throughout this path, 25 episodes, 12,000 downloads. I think YouTube has like 6,000 on top of that. But as I said, numbers don't matter as much as long as you guys are getting some value out of this. Thank you guys, and signing off for 2020. See you next year.
Too much.